Watching news at Prime, let's bring you this now. The South African National Defence Force saying the first group of soldiers deployed to Eastern DRC as part of the SADC mission will arrive in the country on Friday. The group will land at the Air Force Base in Bloemspruit. This is in the Free State. Their return follows the repatriation of the remains of 14 soldiers in February who were killed during clashes with the M23 rebels. Wounded soldiers have also already returned home. The Defence Minister Angie Motshekga, alongside the Military Command Council, will welcome the troops. Well, let's talk more around this imminent arrival, and we're joined by the South African National Defence Force's Rear Admiral Prince Tshabalala. Mr. Tshabalala, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. This is a welcome development, I'm sure. How certain are we that the first group of soldiers will indeed touch down on Friday?
Thank you, Tolly, and the viewers of Newsroom. We are definitely certain as a SANDF that the return of the first group will certainly be arriving on Friday, the 13th, in Bloemspruit Air Force Base. Our plans are scheduled, and we are taking this opportunity to make sure that all the plans are executed accordingly. Hence, we are making sure that these heroes of our nation are welcomed appropriately, because for us, they deserve all the accolades, and we are honoring their sacrifice that they've made on behalf of the country.
Yeah. We'll talk in a moment about this particular chapter and whether the South African National Defence Force is likely to take some lessons on what happened here. But before we get there, let's track back to the route that they have taken. They would have travelled out of Eastern DRC and then link to Rwanda. How has that journey gone thus far?
Look, as I said before, the Chief SANDF, as part of the Chief of SADC, had met the M23, who were part of the force that was fighting the Congolese government. And as SADC Summit DRC force, we then entered a ceasefire agreement. And a part of that, as we had already previously announced, was that that ceasefire will culminate in also adding the access, the route that we are going to use to be through Rwanda until to Tanzania. And so far, things have been smooth in terms of the transportation of the cargo equipment. Now we are doing the last phase, which will be our personnel, which is currently in progress as we are speaking.
All right, so is it safe to say that all of the hardware, the equipment, is already in South Africa?
Yes, we can safely say 80% of the cargo is now in the safe zone, which is Tanzania, which is the green zone. And from there, they will be dispatched utilizing various capabilities, which is some will go via aircraft, majority will via the sea through Dar es Salaam.
All right, and then the personnel, the first group that's going to arrive in South Africa on Friday, how many troops, how many soldiers are we talking about? And the remainder, how many will those be?
Look, they will be coming in phases. This is the first phase. They'll be above about more or less above 250 and approximately, and the more will follow in that contingent. Some flight will do a number of sorties, but our plans are saying that we will do a number of sorties. Some would be double the amount that I've just said, but the plans are in place to accommodate them all, because being the last troop to arrive in terms of our plans are indicating that somewhere around towards the end of the month, we'd have completed the process.
All right. Well, that sounds...
Which then announced to the public.
All right. And then, Rear Admiral, let's talk about the key lessons learned here, because it's not the first tragedy of its kind to befall the South African National Defence Force. We can all remember the Central African Republic. And so the DRC was yet another disaster. How do we not come back to this kind of disaster? What key lessons have been taken by the Army to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Without anticipating the processes that these members will undergo, all these lesson learned will go through a process of reviewal, and that process we will only, I would assume that our leadership is already taking a number of lessons learned, and most of these processes and challenges that we have experienced, we will definitely undergo a process of reviewal. That one we cannot deny, and considering that we had a number of challenges there, but we don't really deem this as a failure mission. It was a very challenging mission, and we're saying to the nation, these soldiers, they really fulfill their mandate in terms of doing their duty, which is stabilizing the Congo, and they deserved all the accolades, considering that they signed for this mandate by making sure that they are bringing peace to stabilize the Congo, and ultimately, whether we were successful or not, but we cannot really deem this mission as a failure. There were a number of lessons learned indeed.
Okay. As we close the chapter then, the injured soldiers from this incident, we all remember how badly injured they were. Will many of them ever go back to active duty, or is this retirement for them based on their injuries?
Those members will still be part of the National Defence Force. They're just going to be reassigned other duties, but obviously they are not going to be more in the combat role, but they will be reassessed accordingly, and there is no termination of their services as far as we know, but they are still going to serve with pride in the National Defence Force. The indication when we visit them that the morale was extremely high, and they were dedicating themselves to say they are going to continue to serve the South African National Defence Force.
Let's leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, Rear Admiral of the South African National Defence Force.